Portugal. In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, Gumpers.
Hola, bon dia, alegria. Munson here with a Good Morning Portugal show, a live stream and podcast. News just in then from the north. Bon dia, nesta belo dia chuvoso. A little bit rainy up in the north there. Thank you for that weather report, João de Norte. How are you this morning? Let me have a look at my... Beyond the blinding lights of the studio, I see that it is 16 degrees outside, 16 and a half nearly. Been out with the dogs this morning, and yes, looks like I managed to escape the rain. Good timing there. Good morning to you, Andy Klein, as well. How's Aveiro this morning? Do let us know, Andy. And the two of the wise men of the Gumpocalypse. Oh, no, all three are there. Present and correct. Excellent. James, T-Duck, and Coach Turner. A little bit of a heads up for you. Spoiler alert for you, T-Duck. The recipe that Owen will be sharing with us with his appearance this morning. He's a Renaissance man. He's going to be talking about his newly published book of poems and wordsmithery, as well as a recipe, sharing a recipe this morning. It is a duck recipe, I am afraid to say. You may want to look away at that point, T-Duck. But don't go just yet, because I want to see how you're responding to the coach this morning. And I definitely made a ticker tape. For the time being, let me pop this ticker tape on then. So for the latest news, you can go to learnaboutportugal.com, where actually I posted up last night a quick podcast. I read the article. If you can't be bothered to read for yourself anymore and you prefer audiobooks or podcasts, I read through Natasha Don's coverage of the post-budget discussion, debate, dialogue, and the headline was Socialists Beat Austerity. They balanced the budget and they gave country more freedom. That was the Prime Minister's direct quote. Not everybody agreed with him, and I go into that. I read out Natasha Don's article over at learnaboutportugal.com if you want a bedtime story or a wake-up call, depending on whichever way you see it. The reason, of course, I was looking and keeping an eye on the budget yesterday, looking over that way, was to see what reference would be made to the NHR. I think that news will filter through today. We will, of course, be talking to Carolina at EI at A and Casa Portuguesa this evening, and I'm sure she'll have some news on that. And of course, in the Dream Team session, we'll cover it as well to see if things have turned out as planned for the NHR, if those people who applied and made the right moves in 23 will still qualify in 2024, if they'll have their deadline extended. So I won't speculate or guess on that any more than I already do, and leave it to the experts tonight. So join us for the webinar at 7:30 with Carolina from Casa Portuguesa. If you're looking for a property here in Portugal to rent or to buy, Casa Portuguesa can help, and they'll tell you all about what they do at 7:30 this evening. And at 9 o'clock, the Dream Team session. Oh, Splunky's here. Good morning, you all. When you say that in an English accent, good morning, you all, doesn't quite sound like a Texan might say it, does it? I'm not vegan. I would never eat a friend, however. There must be a word for that. I guess kind, compassionate, I'm guessing. Morning to you, T-Duck. I'll give you appropriate warning when pictures of dead birds are going to be displayed on the screen there. You were in at 7:54 this morning with a Bon de Alegria Gumpers and a deep thought from Dr. Seuss. Let's get straight into that. We will have Owen with us at around 9 this morning. And the question I'll be asking him, based on his bursts of creativity here in Portugal, is being a migrant, being somebody who's left your own native country and gone to a new place, is that a catalyst for creativity? Is it inspiring? And is Portugal especially enriching, and a trigger for further and deeper creativity. And what kind, of course, when you're here in Portugal? What does that give an Owen? And that question, of course, for everybody here this morning, has being in Portugal boosted? Well, has leaving your home country boosted your creativity? And what has Portugal done in particular? Let's chat about that this morning, especially when Owen joins us. Special visual dad joke meme for him this morning, which I'll preview with you now. How do poets earn a living? Well, it's perverse, of course, and he can join us when he joins us later on. He can either confirm or deny that fact, as laid out there for you by the Star Trek crew, or some of them, anyway, two of them at least. And the opening meme this morning, very important news from Miranda de Corvo from Filomena, who'll be with us a week tomorrow for Filomena Friday with our very special guest, Genuino Madruga will be joining us, the man who sailed around the world solo twice, a Portuguese fella from the Azores, our very special guest, a week tomorrow on the Filomena Friday session.
Filomena Friday.
And that jingle has been remixed, and you'll hear it debuted a week tomorrow as well on Filomena's arrival in the studio. Parsnip alert then from Filomena. She's so helpful, isn't she, on so many levels. And for those of you who like your parsnips, for those of you who didn't know what a parsnip looked like, you do now. It's on your screen. Parsnip on sale at Mini Mercado China, next to my office in Miranda de Corvo. So you could actually tick a few boxes there. You could go see Filomena at Trips for Brits, other nationalities also included, and you can bag yourself some parsnips. That's if they haven't all gone already. But isn't that kind of Filomena to let the country know, especially I think the foreigners and those who like a roasted root vegetable, that they are available in Miranda de Corvo at the moment. We have got a quiz question for you this morning about different parts of the country. I'll come back to that in a little while. Let's go back to the deep thought from Dr. Seuss then this morning. Thank you very much, T-Duck, for these. These are excellent. And, of course, your Portuguese sayings of the day, which will be taken over to GMP VIP to boost that incredible treasury of Portuguese quotes over there. This is Dr. Seuss then, who said, or who was, World War II, Geisel turned to political cartoons in World War II, drawing over 400 in 2 years as editorial cartoonist for a left-leaning, it's a great phrase that, isn't it? Left-leaning, I'm sure you can get some shoes for that. New York City newspaper. What did he say then? His deep thought for us today: adults are obsolete children. Yes, or you could say adulterated, couldn't you? Children are adulterated or become adulterated human beings, whatever that means. And I made a big deal, didn't I, yesterday, of holding the dad jokes to share with Mrs. M. And then I forgot. And so I'll give you a dad joke sandwich this morning. Let's go back to yesterday's dad jokes for your delight and appreciation. They were, is irony the opposite of wrinkly? I tried to win a tanning contest, but only got bronze. That's good, isn't it? And my favorite of the three yesterday, that I was hoping to see the look on Mrs. M's face as I read this out. But time, it always does, doesn't it? Time and tide wait for no man. And the dad jokes got squeezed out at the last moment. But here they are now, two of them already. This is the third from yesterday. I bought a baking dish while on holiday in Barbados. Actually, with reading that out, I'm thinking of some of my favorite jokes. I took my wife to the West Indies, or I took my wife to a Swiss lake. What's the other one? I can't remember now. I incorporated them into my wedding speech, actually. Jamaica. Anyway, not Jamaica on this occasion. I bought a baking dish while on holiday in Barbados. It's Pyrex of the Caribbean. Very good. You may groan. Insert groan at that point. Thank you very much then for the deep thought to Dr. Seuss via T-Duck this morning. And Coach Turner is in this morning with a bon dia, meus amigos e feliz quinta. Sub-zero here at the moment in Hertfordshire in the UK, missing the temperatures of Madeira. Looking forward, of course, to the big road trip in Portugal next year. Looking forward to seeing you there. I met up with Colin yesterday, Coach Turner, and we have a GoPro-y type device, and we're getting ourselves ready. We've got two GoPro-y type devices that we're going to strap onto various parts of ourselves and our vehicles. And we will be covering well, it's going to be exciting, isn't it? It's going to be great fun meeting you and finding out or chronicling your road trip next year in 2024. And we'll talk more about the year ahead in this well, from tomorrow. We'll light up Christmas from tomorrow, and we'll also be talking about the year ahead, of course, 2024. And that's one of the big deals. That's one of the big fixtures of next year. Coach Turner's road trip over here. Missing Madeira. Still take a walk for a coffee, though, in those freezing temperatures in the UK. And your God Squad tip of the day is today, coaching athletes is all about maximizing their performance. And it is easy to forget that it isn't the objective. That isn't the objective here. This is about okay, I've got you. So you're coaching athletes, of course, if in case anybody didn't know that. And in that context, in that arena, kind of literally, right? It's all about maximizing their performance, and it's easy to forget that isn't the objective here on the Good Morning Portugal show. Our God Squad tips of the day are all about staying healthy or maximizing life potential. Your vitality, folks. That's why we do this. It's for you and your vitality. So, says Coach Turner, it's not necessary to push ourselves uncomfortably, merely to be reasonably active. Yes, of course. And where's that come from? That this is one of the messages of our society, isn't it? Is it like no pain, no gain, and maybe a sort of hangover from school as well? Just you haven't done anything unless it hurts in some way, and that's academically and physically, isn't it? But we don't need to do that anymore. You're not at school anymore, Stop laughing at the back, or I'll throw my virtual board rubber across the room here. Even so, core exercises are vital to improve our balance, as falling over becomes more of an issue as we age. I'm sorry to giggle and laugh, but that could be for a number of reasons, couldn't it? Staggering. The various versions of the plank are a great way of keeping core strength without risking other injuries. That's a great comedy film, isn't it? From the 1950s, 1960s, possibly in the UK, a classic bit of comedy, The Plank. With who was in that? Who was in The Plank? It was Eric, not Eric Idle, the other funny Eric. Somebody will tell me, I'm sure. Back and side, they can be started with knees bent and progressed as you strengthen. This is planking, everybody. We're talking about twerking and tweaking yesterday. We are planking today. Great way of keeping core strength without risking other injuries. Back and side, they can be started with knees bent and progressed as you strengthen. Okay, so think about planking today. In fact, why not actually do some as well? If that's part of your warm-up routine to be thinking about it, then fair enough. But it might be good to do one or two of the actual physical exercises as well. I thought so. Splunky is Mrs. Duck. Good morning to you. And how unfortunate when both the ducks are here. We're actually doing Peking Duck. When there's a dad joke in there somewhere as well, isn't there? When Owen arrives. Let's go back to more comments then. And a bon dia, Splunky, benvindo, from James to Mrs. Duck. I think not realizing, like me, immediately, of course, I remember now, but Splunky is Mrs. Duck. White carrots, señoras brancos. No. They are certainly not. In fact, whilst he's here this morning, we'll get a good recipe. I would go for a bit of honey glazed roasting with those bad boys there. Well, I guess you could be forgiven for thinking they're a white carrot, but the texture is quite different. They're more rooty and a lot stronger in taste and flavor. So, yeah, I mean, you're in the right kind of area, and they should perhaps be in the same roasting dish tray, but not white carrots, parsnips, and I forget what they're called. Pete, when he arrives, will tell us all about parsnips, and of course the Covilhã Parsnip Festival is fairly fresh in the memory as well, and the nose, I suspect too. This is what we'll be looking at. Here are some lovely pickies from Owen's food preparation. He made a pate as well, and there are some of the ingredients on the screen for you. That's not the Peking duck. That's some of the offal there that I think was being prepared for a duck pate. Right there. Okay, back to your comments. How's everyone doing? Who else is here this morning? Aviva is in. Bon dia. I love parsnips. There you go. And wasn't the parsnip the first day? It's not a parsnip in a pear tree, is it? No pain, please. And Eric Sykes, a nice memory, I think, there for Coach Turner. Eric Sykes, check it out, The Plank. I'm sure that's available on YouTube. And pastinhaga, I don't remember that as the name for parsnip in Portuguese. It might be, though. It may well be. Or it might be an entirely different reference this morning. Okay, let's roll a little bit of VT. I did ask Andy the other morning, and he'll be back, of course, tomorrow with some recommendations for this holiday weekend that is coming up here in Portugal. And he said he'd been out doing a bit of damp bushwhacking. That'll be damp, bushwhacking, not damp bushwhacking. Although, let's see if that's actually true by watching his video clip. And no sooner had I asked him for evidence of his damp bushwhacking, he supplied this.
Oh, there's a font. Look at that. Look at his font. That's funny, look. Going out the geezers now. Oh, do you see that little frog then? Jump in. I don't know if the camera caught that. Oh, nice. Right, well, it's a little bit damp, so I'll say goodbye. Ciao, ciao.
Very sensible with the high-vis jacket on there by Randy. And I always love having a little walk with you around the Bairrada district. And lovely to see a font with my initials on and the spout of the font coming out of a geezer's mouth, I think Andy said there. Keep them coming, Andy, and your events tomorrow, of course, for what's going on in the Bairrada district. I'm sure the folks of Bairrada will be celebrating independence from Spain tomorrow, always, I believe, on the 1st of December. Gary Mills also in from a -2, chilly South Wales. Great to have you here, Gary. How are you doing? And Antonio F is with us now. Bon dia todos. How are you? Now, I think Antonio F is going to do very well with our quiz question this morning. Let's take a look at it now. Your Portugal quiz question of the day then. And this is a little bit of a segment from a posting at GMP VIP. So you're an advantage if you're over there and you saw this. Braga reza, Porto trabalha, Coimbra estuda, and Lisbon does something else. Braga, of course, is praying. Porto, this is a little insight, is it not, into how the Portuguese see the people of certain towns and cities. They're praying in Braga, they're working in Porto, keeping the wheels of industry moving. They're studying in Coimbra. And what are they doing in Lisboa? What is the missing word there on your screen? That's your Portugal quiz question for today. We've got Braga praying, Porto working, Coimbra studying. And what is Lisbon doing? If you want a little clue with that, what are the Lisboetas called? What is another one of their, what is their nickname, as I recall? And that'll give you a little bit of a clue as to what the other parts of the country think people get up to in Lisbon. And you know what? There must be a sans serif joke about a font. I think he's seen the dad jokes for this morning. And yes, they are coming. And we are moving into sans serif. Comic Sans season, are we? Now, that's very Comic Sansy on the screen there at the moment, isn't it? If not exactly Comic Sans, then very like it. Okay, what else have I got lurking in my picture deck here? We, of course, have the parsnip picture. I've got Owen's pickies coming up as well. What did I forget from earlier on this week? Did anyone else see this beautiful picture? Tap, vintage and retro there. Retro mode activated, it says, over on Twitter. And a really lovely picture. I think that is a recent picture, not taken this morning, obviously. Looking out of the window here, I don't think any bit of Portugal looks like that quite at the moment. But the picky there from Bernard Otopa, and a wonderful retro picky of the golden age of air travel summoned up there on a recent picture, I would say, and one of their wonderful cabin crew at the controversial Tap. All right, let's while we're waiting for Owen, then let's have a look at our own news headlines this morning over at learnaboutportugal.com. Let me just get my frame back on the screen. Yeah, over there we've had a look at the reporting, the early reporting that's come from the budget being approved yesterday. As expected, the budget was approved yesterday, and the Prime Minister got a chance to give a last word, I suppose, have the last laugh on the last word there. I was looking actually more specifically because I know it's of interest to quite a few of our community here, whether there was any news in there about the NHR. There wasn't, and not as yet anyway, and we'll keep an eye on that for the rest of the day, and it will come up tonight on the Dream Team session. One response to the PM's suggestion that the socialists have beaten austerity and they've balanced the budget and they've given the country more freedom. This was Isabella Camarinha, who didn't quite agree with that. Of his words, she said it's a budget for politics that may be approved inside the parliament, but which we reject. And she is the leader of the CGTP, the Confederation of British. Sorry, I want to say British because it's like the CBI, Confederation of British Industry, the Confederation of Portuguese Trade Unions, of course, the CGTP. And she told the assembled crowd that the 2024 budget, far from improving incomes, was one of the right wing. It was one of, or from the right wing, with policies that leave the profits and privileges of the wealthy minority untouched. It's a budget for politics that may be approved inside the parliament, but which we reject here because of its contents, because of its choices, because it lacks measures that value labour, workers, improve public service, and bring greater social justice and territorial cohesion to the country, she said. Though. So she's not a fan of the Prime Minister's words. And apparently, later on that same day, another headline from the Portugal resident, checkmate. No, the president and the prime minister haven't been playing chess. Well, they kind of have, but as only as a metaphor, perhaps. Portugal's political crisis plays perfectly into the prime minister's hands. Apparently, prime minister travels to Brussels as political backbiting hogs the headlines. As the resident went to press Prime Minister Antonio Costa, this was the Portugal resident in its paper form, and we've organised a discount for you if you wanted to get a subscription to the paper edition. We've got a discount on that for GMP VIPs. Check that out over at gmpvip.com, where you can see that and other discounts, including one actually on the services of Owen. If he comes to your house and cooks for you, you can get a discount on his service as well. A nice little perk for GMP VIPs. Anyway, back to the Prime Minister. As the resident, not the president, went to press, the president went to Brussels. No, the Prime Minister went to Brussels. The resident went to press, and PM Antonio Costa was on his way to a strategic dinner debate on the EU's political priorities for the future. And I think he does see himself as working in Europe in the future, right? It's often the next step, isn't it, for domestic politicians in Europe to go to the EU and have a nice little job over there. Notwithstanding oblique recent comments that he could not imagine another public role, an expression he then changed to another executive role, it truly does look as if the country's outgoing political leader is considering a job in Brussels, every bit as pundits have been suggesting throughout the last tumultuous year in which his government has been assailed by so many scandals. The electorate has lost count. And yeah, going back to TAP then, exactly a year ago, opposition parties were calling for the dissolution of Parliament. It's a year ago. The previous 9 months had seen the government lose 11 MPs for various less than exemplary reasons. Nicely put, Natasha Don. The TAP golden handshake scandal had just seen the fall of the then Minister of Infrastructure. His predecessor has also since resigned. What a mess! What a political pickle. And President Marcelo was ostensibly sternly putting his government on warning. It had to govern. It had to maintain the stability Portugal so badly needed. That was a year ago. And now look, Marcelo's line in the sand, his insistence in seeing a government govern was, in the final analysis, more the performance of an exasperated schoolmaster giving unruly pupils one last chance. So that's over there at the Portugal resident this morning. Getting ready here this morning on the Good Morning Portugal show for Owen, that Renaissance man who's just released a collection of his poems and wordsmithery. And we'll put a link in the chat so that you can buy that from Amazon if you so wish. And we got a recipe this morning as well. And we're asking the question, does moving away from your native country, your native land, make you more creative? And does Portugal offer something special in that particular department of inspiration and creativity. Just a very quick look then before we chat with, I'm just trying to find out what the how it's going with the budget. Oh, Mrs. M's outside in the garden. Gooey! Any mention then of the NHL? No, nothing as yet. Over on the Portugal news, Brussels wants to see travellers reimbursed within 14 days. I wonder what for. Probably for compensation of some kind. Economic miracle is down to good policies. Oh, that's that Paul Krugman, is it? Paul Krugman's speech the other day saying that Portugal was an economic miracle. Depends on who you speak to. And as is happening, it would appear all around the world, retirement age is rising here in Portugal. The retirement age is expected to rise to 66 years and 7 months in 2025. It's such a cheeky move, isn't it, from politicians and those with their hands on the tiller of the economy to just very slowly, a month by month, raise up the retirement age so they don't have to pay out on the pensions and keep people working and keep the tax revenue coming in. An increase of 3 months compared to the value that will be applied in 24. So 3 months in 2024 and going up to 66 years and 7 months in 2025, according to calculations based on data released by the INE. Also, in the let's have a quick look then, because we had Antonio F commenting on this in over at GMP VIP. Oh, an interesting piece there on the cost of living alone in Portugal. I'll have to revisit that. An Algarve resort has sold for over 400 million. Champagne all round, I suspect, there in the Algarve. And great to see you yesterday, Jack and Chris and friends Pat and David at the meetup. Lovely little meetup yesterday here in San Martino de Porto with visitors from the Algarve. It was raining here, not showing ourselves off to our best, but I think they quite liked it here on the Silver Coast. The most popular names then, just before Owen joins us, the most popular names in Portugal have been revealed. This year until November the 19th, 75,643 babies have been born in Portugal, more in 23 than in the same period last year. Maria, Alice and Leonor, excuse me a minute. Oh. Had to hit the cough button for a moment there. Maria, Alice and Leonor continue to be the names most chosen by parents in Portugal for girls. Well, I figured that out for myself. I mean, we do live in gender fluid times, but I did guess for myself, Portugal news, that Maria, Alice and Leonor were the top names for girls. Francisco and Afonso are the top boys' names, according to data from the Ministry of Justice and reported by Noticias al Minuto. The 10 most chosen girls' names are Maria, Alice, Leonor, Matilde, Benedita, Carolina, Beatriz, Francisca, Camila, and Margarida. The 10 boys' names are Francisco, Afonso, Duarte, Lorenzo, Thomas, João, Vicente, Gabriel, Miguel, and Martin. Very good. Thank you for those. Have you got a Portuguese name? Have you adopted a Portuguese name? We've got João de Norte here, of course. Owen, I wonder if Owen's ever tried to translate his name into Portuguese, if there's a Portuguese equivalent. We'll find out from him now. Let's give him a nice big round of applause. And say hi. Olá, bom dia to you, Owen. How are you?
Olá, bom dia, tudo bem?
Muito bem, obrigado. Contigo.
Sorry?
Contigo, how are you? And yourself, Governor?
I'm very good, thank you.
Good. It's getting past that bit.
Martins is a popular Portuguese name.
Martin, of course, yes. So you do have something that that is directly relatable to Portuguese culture.
And obviously, Saint Martin.
Of course, yes. It was brought to my attention the other day that the legend of Saint Martin, of course, he was a Roman soldier, I believe, who saw somebody less fortunate than himself by the side of the road. I mean, you probably know this as your namesake saint. And whereupon he, being touched, moved, and inspired by this difficulty that his fellow human being was experiencing, he slashed his cape in half and gave the man by the roadside half of his cape. At which point the sun came out and all were blessed in that moment. And it might have been Garvo actually. It's like, well, half a cape. Why not the whole cape? It's like, I'm going to be kind and compassionate here, but only 50% kind and compassionate. You can't have the whole thing. I'll freeze to death. and then I won't be able to be remembered forever for my kindly act. But it's true, isn't it? I mean, the truly heroic would have been like, here, have it. Have the sword as well, and my horse. I'll tell you what. Let's just change places here. No. Right. So, how's your weather up there this morning, Owen? Rainy, I understand.
It's very light drizzle, actually. It's that kind of stuff that wets you right through.
My kids were talking about different kinds of rain. There was rain on the windscreen of the car, and they said, "Oh, this is thick rain." And that's the big blobs that you can hear landing on the windscreen compared to the mizzle that we get. We get more of the mizzle, don't we? And it sounds like that's what you put up there.
Especially coastal, isn't it? especially coastal. That yes. It's all the same as well.
That's right. And, I'm constantly wiping it off my forehead. That kind of rain. Yeah. So how is life in the north? It sounds like it's been treating you well with your connection to the Lettre Brewery, for example. What's been going on for you?
Oh, that's great. Yeah, as you say, I did a sample day down at the bar at Lettre, and I taught the staff how to actually cook the Scotch eggs in order for it to go on the menu there. And it was decided that I would supply the bar now with said Scotch eggs. I'm doing a traditional Scotch egg, and then I'm doing a spicy beef Scotch egg as well. So
nice twist.
That goes on the menu next week. The menu changes next week, so it goes on next week. So I'm really pleased with that. It's taken me a year to get food on the menu there, but it's the start of hopefully something that's going to grow. They're expanding themselves at Lettre, opening up more bars across Portugal, which will give me some opportunity to get some of my food in there. I think the next thing that's going to go on, even though I've not started yet, is a vegetarian samosa.
Very good. You have been rumbled though, mate. I mean, of all the places you could have chosen to as purveyor of Scotch eggs, it had to be a craft brewery.
It's the ideal pub food, really, isn't it?
It is. But it gives you a chance.
You're going to try a jar of pickled eggs as well. I'm going to give that a try.
We had a chat about pickled eggs, didn't we? It was lovely to see you a couple of weeks ago as part of your tour south. And we talked about pickled eggs. There's a number of things I want to ask you and comment upon, though, with this Lettre Brewery thing. I mean, every time you're in there, presumably you say, "Oh, go on then, just half a pint. Let me just try this new batch here." What a great partnership to be involved in.
It's great. I mean, Wednesday night, which they have the hoppy hour, 5:30 till 7:30.
Hoppy hour.
Very
good.
Very good play on words. Yeah. So I normally, obviously, I go in on a Wednesday night and meet up with a lot of the expats that's in there. There's about maybe 15 to 20 of us. So it's a nice little atmosphere. And because the Lettre breweries that they have are all on a theme, and the one in Ponta de Lima is Lettre Vinyl. So it's all about records. So they have a stack of records and a record deck there so you can play records. But I've, over the last 3 weeks, have been taking in my laptop and literally playing the requests of people that are in the bar at the moment. So I sit there and spin a few tunes and get free drink from it as well and free food. So it's not bad.
That's like all of your favorite things, isn't it, in one experience?
Absolutely. It's really good, really good. I really enjoy it. And everybody that goes in seems to enjoy Wednesday night. It's a nice place to meet up. And it has, for me, a UK pub kind of feel to it, and that's the reason why I like it as well.
Funny that I was talking to Colin and Tor at our meetup in San Martino yesterday about the few things we miss from back home, and one of them is that UK pub vibe. I think it's something to do with this time of year as well, isn't it? In this sort of weather, the idea of walking into a British boozer, an old-fashioned country one, with a fire roaring in the corner and the smell of bitter and food cooking. That is a really very, very special thing. And there's a sense of that, is there, at Lettre?
Absolutely. It's such a really, really good atmosphere in there. The staff are amazing, very attentive. If you're not a craft ale drinker, they will certainly let you try any one of the number of, I think it's about 18 taps they have behind the bar there. And a multitude of cans and bottles in the 3 or 4 fridges that they have inside. And there's always an explanation given for all the beers that you're drinking. I mean, it's not just the craft ales. They do wines, they do coffees. So it is a really, really nice sort of atmosphere.
I'm loving it. Absolutely loving it. Look at this. We've got the interior there. And what caught my eye particularly, as we are about to go into a beer festival here on the Silver Coast as well, actually, this weekend, Silver Coast Beer Festival tomorrow and Saturday. This is a really nice idea, as well as these lovely snacks, which will be joined by yours as well. You've got the meat and cheese croquettes. You've got the padron peppers sautéed in olive oil. Meat samosas. I think we're going to have Owen's veggie samosa going in there as well. And to that menu, chicken wings, 4 cheeses and 4 sausages board. A nice little tabua mixta there. Hummus and pizza bread. These are fantastic, aren't they? And a load of burgers. Then as far as the drinks, smoked salmon salad. That looks fantastic. Then you've got a tasting board of beer as well. That looks like a good deal, doesn't it? At €9.50, 6 beers on a tasting board. Have you tried that?
Yeah, you get it. I don't know. It's about a board about so long, and the glasses are about so big.
Yeah,
and you've got the. Well, you can choose which beers that's
really?
in there. But normally, it's the A to F, which is normal. The normal standard beers that are on the Hoppy Hour each Wednesday.
Okay, and that's why it's the Lettra Brewery. That the beers have got letters for names, letras there, and that's I think I had that when I was living in central Portugal. I mean, they are shipping these around the country, aren't they? But clearly, is it a northern thing, generally speaking, Lettra?
No, because where was I? I was in. It was either Caldash, right? It would have been one of the supermarkets in Caldash, and it was on the shelf for sale. The Lettra ales.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that. But are the bars generally up in the north?
They are, but I do believe that they're looking at Obidos as the next one.
Oh, of course, yes, that's a great idea. That'll be.
I think there are plans for Lisbon as well.
All right, mate. And I suspect you from time to time you've liked to try a stout there. And knowing you as I do, they've got a caramel delight. What's that like? 11.5 ABV. What's that like?
Yeah. In fact, I've been laying off a lot of the porters and everything because I'm finding, if we look at the percentage, the alcohol percentage in them is that some of them are quite high, and I've decided to give it, a couple of weeks break. But the caramel ones, all of them are really, really good. In fact, last night I had 2 pints of the strawberry pineapple, which is a kind of a sour beer. That was really nice. And John and Pam, I believe, had a passion fruit milkshake. It sounds daft. It's not actually a milkshake, but it's a beer. But it's one of the beers that they sell as well. And that was a passion fruit milkshake. That was the title.
Well, there we go. We'll put the link to Lettra. Obviously, needs to be part. If you like your beer and you like that sort of craft beer experience atmosphere, and you're touring the north, well, you can look out for it, as Owen said, there in supermarkets all over the country. It looks like they've got good distribution. But if you want to find out and pop in more about Lettra, there it is on the screen for you now. The link to that. Superb, and good luck with that. Then the beef spicy Scotch eggs, the traditional Scotch eggs, and your veggie samosas that are going in there. Is there a particular name for a spicy beef Scotch egg? Has it got a name other than that?
We've called it Scotch egg Jamaican.
Of course. Right, okay. Yeah, very good, very good. And is there any stout flavors inside the preparation of that? Because that's going to work well.
No, unfortunately not. I didn't think about that, but maybe that should be something I should be looking at. Because what I eventually want to do, obviously with Lettra's agreement, is try and create a dish. They already do have it. I mean, the Francesina, I know definitely at Lettra they use the beer there. So I'm trying to think of something I could potentially put on there. Maybe I could ask Lucy, Pepper, and Celia. I don't know if you can see that there.
Oh yeah, we're going to get them on, aren't we?
I've been talking to them. I'm just waiting for their email to come back to see a confirmation date, or rather, they would like to know a date that they can come on the show and talk about the book.
Oh, brilliant! So the authors of Eat Portugal, we're going to get them on the show. How cool is that? Yeah, superb. And you're a big fan of that book?
Absolutely. When I was on my mini road trip south, this was my reading companion on the way down, and actually managed to cook a dish with Brenda and T-Duck while I was visiting them, and we did the caldo verde. Oh, very good. Excellent stuff. Really good. Yeah. On that note, then, the book is called Eat Portugal. You were on a road trip. Did you discover anything new while you were on your tour? Well, yeah, in fact, Katia Lima took me for a tour around Lisbon, and she said, "Would you like to have a Bifana?" Oh, yes, cool, of course. And then she said, "Right, I'm going to take you to the best place in Lisbon for Bifana." So I'm thinking, okay, go in, sit down, have a nice Bifana, have a chat, and it's actually a small place, smaller than the room I'm in at the moment, and this isn't a small room, but apparently they only allow. I think there's about maybe three high stools in the whole of the place.
Oh, really?
They only allow the locals inside. So you're literally eating outside. And there was, as we approached the square, there was quite a few people out there. And there was quite a big queue to this little hatch. And it is the best Bifana I've had in Portugal since being here. And you can understand why. I mean, and I can understand, obviously, they don't let any tourists into the actual shop itself. And I can fully agree with that because, when it comes to the end of tourist season, it's only going to be the locals that are going to provide the support to the store there. So
yeah.
It's quite right that rule should be there. And yeah, the Bifana was amazing.
Very good. And it's all about the marinade, isn't it, with the Bifana? I mean, I'm guessing
absolutely
it's the same recipe for decades there, and they just keep that standard up, and that's why it's got the reputation it has. Wonderful. Yeah. Do you remember the name of the place? Did you say that?
I don't, but if Katia's watching, she could put it in the link for us.
Okay, so the best Bifana place in Lisbon. And the reason I'm giggling is, look, good morning, ladies.
Frankie, I won't talk about football, Frank. Hey! Galatasaray.
All right. There's talk of tender meat. And people want to know more about when your snacks will be available. Let's get to those comments. But I missed one earlier on when we were doing the God Squad tip of the day. And we were talking about doing a bit of planking. Apparently, T-Duck was at the gym, whatever. I saw Bigfoot at the gym yesterday. He was doing Sask squats. Dear, oh dear. And the Portuguese say, which I also scrolled over, do forgive me. Let's look at this now. Santo de Casa, this is the Portuguese saying of the day. I didn't read this, did I? Santo de Casa não faz milagre. A stay-at-home saint works no miracles. Well, that's connect very nicely with St. Martin that we were talking about earlier on. And there's further talk about St. Martin. Garvo is here. Was it you, Garvo, who made the comment about how St. Martin was perhaps a bit tight, only offering just half of his ape. We talked about look at how thoughtful is Philomena. She said she posted this on social media. Did you see that?
I did, yeah.
It's such a good service to the community, isn't it?
Isn't it?
And apparently they're good in chicken soup. I'd never have thought of that, but that sounds like a lovely idea there.
I can see that happening.
Yeah, for sure. There's be a nice sort of complimentary flavour. We've got Garvo in. Good morning, everybody. Good to see you here. Did somebody say festa? I think yeah, there is definitely a parsnip festa in Covilhã. Pete will tell us more about that if and when he arrives this morning. And the quiz question of the day about how they pray in Braga and they work in Porto and they study in Coimbra. What do they do in Lisbon? That must be a Porto joke, trying to belittle others. Antonio F. not happy about that as a Lisboeta. What do the Lisboetas say about the Porto people? They swear a lot and they belittle others. Typical. Costa will probably be having a jantar with Mr. Blair. Boo! Sorry. I don't know where that came from. Squire of the Shires. Good morning, Squire. Bon dia, Gary y Antonio. And a good morning, Owen, from Splunky this morning.
Morning, Brenda.
Yep. And later on that day, apparently, when St. Martin did give half of his cape to the poor, unfortunate beggar by the side of the street. I've been hesitating to use the word beggar. It's often a word that would be used to emphasize the point, right? There's the great Roman centurion and the lowly beggar on the street with whom he was able to elevate himself. But apparently it snowed. So the sun came out when he did his goodly act, but then it snowed. So good job he had his half a cape left.
That's a question I should ask, really, Carl, because I believe on that weekend, that San Martino weekend, is it the weather kind of changed and heats up? Did you know?
That's right. Yeah, that's why it's called a San Martino summer. We didn't have that, however.
I was waiting for it because I remember it happening last year. So I was suitably dressed for it, but nothing happened.
Yeah, we didn't have it in the first week when it's meant to happen, as I recall. You know, the Magusto, the San Martino Festa period, the first week of November, is when you might get a late summer. I don't remember that happening.
No.
All I can remember is that it's quite atmospheric, and we saw it in Caldas yesterday. The chestnut sellers are still out on the street. It's a lovely sight to see, isn't it? Where the smoke from the chestnut roaster is rising up as the mizzle is coming down. And there was this lovely scene actually yesterday. There was a police officer, one of the policia type, not a GNR, but the are they called the PSP officers? The other ones anyway, the ones who tend to do more traffic sort of work.
The ones in the blue and white cars.
He was looking good. He was looking tight and buff in his uniform, and he was munching on chestnuts with the chestnut vendor, wishing everyone a bonne nuit or botard. It was a really great scene in this atmosphere of rising chestnut smoke.
Nice.
And fine misty rain. It's just so autumnal. And then the Christmas lights came on as well.
I love it because they provide two things, don't they? The chestnuts. Sustenance and heat for the hands when you're holding the little.
That's right. Yeah, and how lovely in Portugal that they are just so such a part of the calendar. You know, here they are on the streets of Portugal, and people are loving it, absolutely loving it. Don't forget to put a little hole in them or get a cross on them if you're roasting them at home, so they don't explode in your oven. Mizzle. Here are the three kinds of rain. Then mizzle, fat rain, and bucketing down. That sounds about right, and you'll know about that in central Portugal, of course. Bars. Who mentioned bars? So we only had to mention bars this morning, Owen, and Darren turns out. He knows his beer. Look, is it?
Yes, it is Darren. Yeah, absolutely.
And he likes Nortarda too. They got Vienna Ale, which is my favorite. Means nothing to me, however. Vienna, Portugal needs good pubs.
Yeah.
Well, what do we think about that? I mean, if you start making pubs here, you end up with the Irish theme bars. Do we need good pubs?
I think Letra's different, and I think that the thing that's good about Letra, and this is no disrespect to any other bar or cafe here in Portugal, is that Letra has a TV. However, it is just a running advert of the brewery. It shows videos of the festivals that they've held. So there's no actual distraction, as in
very good.
2 or 3 TVs with 3 different channels on the TV. So I love that because obviously it just boosts the art of conversation in the bar as well with having that there. Yes. And obviously I'm not playing music as well. So you can actually hear each other talk rather than people being distracted by a TV in the building.
Yeah, okay. So fair point. I think it's the comfort that he's talking about here, isn't it? A cozy environment that we mentioned before.
Yeah.
Well done, Owen, on the news of your gig with Letra from the Squire there.
Thank you.
And is there more than one Letra bar? I'm trying to have a look to see if I can find out the answer to exactly how many there are.
Braga.
Yeah.
Braga. The new one in Viana de Castelo.
Yeah.
Villa Verde, where the brewery is. I can see an arm. Is that Mrs. M? There's an arm behind.
I didn't even see her sneak in. Right,
so
yes.
We have Braga, Viana de Castelo, Villa Verde, Porto, Ponta de Lima.
Yeah.
And did I say Porto?
Yeah, I think you did. I think Darren knows that one. Yeah.
And I think there's a couple more. Like I say, there's one in Óbidos, and I'm sure there's plans for one in Lisbon as well. So I think eventually by this summer there'll be a lot more.
Great.
Because they are doing other projects with other people as well. When I sent you the video of the meat feast that we had, sorry again, vegetarians, vegans, but we were talking about it. We were talking about the possibilities of more places opening.
Yeah.
Really good set of guys that run Letra. That's Francisco and João Paulo.
And they deserve every success, don't they? I mean, it's an amazing.
Absolutely.
Amazing and it appears to be part of a general trend, doesn't it, here in Portugal? I'm really enjoying seeing all these beers arriving from different every conceivable angle and part of the country, and there's going to be some of that. I'll be talking to a few of the brewers this weekend at the Silver Coast Beer Festival. Talked to a few of them, of course, with Frank when we were in Castanheira de Pero, and I must abstract those interviews actually from the long live stream that we did. And give them the right platform that they deserve, because these are very passionate people, aren't they? They're not in it for the money. They're clearly not in it for the money, because it's it goes against every kind of modern business principle. They're not doing big volumes, are they? They I guess you could argue that you're having to pay a little bit of a premium, but quite right too, because there's a lot of love and work that goes into it. But it's not about the money, is it? I think it's about the passion.
And I think that's what it is about craft ale. It brings conversation to the table. You sit around there, 4 or 5 different people, and what are you drinking, etc.
Yeah. Yes, and you can't really say that with Sagres and Superbock. No disrespect intended, but it arrives. No. Imperial arrives and it hits the spot, but there's not a great conversation to be had, is there? Apart from
I mean, I spent the first 3 years here drinking Superbock and Sagres, and it was such a joy when I arrived here in Ponta de Lima. The magic hands there again. It's behind you, Carl. It's behind you.
On the move behind me.
Yes, I completely lost my
thread. To be doing a show in here while you're trying to do some gardening.
I completely lost my thread.
We're just talking in praise of craft beers, aren't we? And how lovely it is to have an alternative to the, we wouldn't be without our, those of us who prefer the Sagres, or those of us who prefer the Superbock. We wouldn't be without that, because there's a time and a place for that, no question. Yeah. It's a very important part of Portuguese culture, and how lovely it is to see that these craft beers are on the way. And be careful of the Padron peppers that we just showed as well, said Darren. Some are very hot. Now, that's the kind of green-looking chili pepper, isn't it? It's not really a chili. It's more of a kind of cross between a capsicum pepper and a chili pepper, isn't it? And those are sauteed, and that's quite nice to go with a beer, isn't it? Yeah,
I call it Russian roulette on a plate.
Okay, and clearly, yes, because some are very hot. And if you can see someone running to the bar to ask for a glass of water or milk, you'll now know why. Letraria even has tap water on tap.
It does that.
Everything comes through a tap there. Fantastic. Thanks, Joao de Nort, who did have the smoothie, as you said. And Darren's talking about the smoothie, or the milkshake that tastes like a smoothie. And it's actually alcoholic, is it?
Yeah, I mean, I tried, and people from the UK will know this. I was quite surprised to see a can of Iron Brew.
Really?
That they had, which was an alcoholic version, which I love, because obviously as a kid I loved Iron Brew.
Yes,
but an alcoholic version in the summer was amazing, and that's why I like Letteri. Is that this time of the year I would probably go for the more heavier beers.
Yeah.
Whereas summertime I like something a lot lighter, maybe something a little bit fruity. So, yeah,
it is like a bit of fruitiness in the summertime. Yes, spring will soon be here. Right?
I tried the Iron Brew, and that was amazing.
Okay, we need to talk about your new collection of poems, and we need to talk about your recipe of the day, your prato de dia, as it were. But we're not finished talking about Padron peppers here. I'd love to try a hot Padron pepper. They're always so mild. It's true, isn't it? And when I was cooking them, I made a beef stew, a slow-cooked beef stew, and I chucked a few of those Padrons in there. And what would you recommend with this, Owen? I cut the tops off and scrape out those withered old seeds inside, because I don't think they're ideal inside the stew. Do you chuck them in whole, or do you get rid of the old seeds inside?
It depends who I'm cooking for.
Right. Okay.
If it's myself, they go in as is.
Okay. Right, but you know what I mean. They do look a bit, they shrivel inside, don't they? Sometimes.
Very much so. It's as if it isn't this way, but it's as if they've been on the shelf for about 3 or 4 months. It's, what shall I do with these peppers? I know.
They're wrinkly, aren't they?
I suppose it's they probably leave them. It's probably the late pickings, I would say, or the early pickings, let's just say, because they're not that hot. I think as time goes on, I think they get the heat there. You know, the longer they're on the plant. So maybe it's the early ones that they pick off just in particular for that.
Okay. Well, I'd never seen them until I came to Portugal. It's a green, wrinkly one, and it has what looks like an old withered seed inside.
Yeah.
As Owen is saying, that you can get rid of or leave it in. For Darren from Joao de Nort thinks there are 4 of them. Your list pretty much matches Joao de Nort's here. Ponta de Lima,
yeah, Porto,
and Villarreal, plus the Porto one as well. The milkshake. It's nothing of the sort to Joao de Nort. It sounds like he was hoping for a milkshake. It was a stout. It was a stout with passion fruit. Oh yeah, because Joao de Nort does like his milk, doesn't he? It was a stout with a passion fruit, which had a very grapefruity flavour. My goodness. Okay,
it's really good for the experience.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. Now, names for the spicy beef, Scotch egg, the jock bacon. The jock bacon. Sign me up for the hummus, says Aviva as well. Bonaparte, here's a recommendation in Porto. Do a good Francesinha because it's not too big. And that's a good point, isn't it? Because sometimes it can be like, I ate one over two sittings the other day. You know, I had to bring half of it home, which I'm not complaining about. But sometimes it would be nice, wouldn't it, to have a Francesinha that was more about the quality of the ingredients rather than the quantity.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because you just get over. Yeah, exactly that. You know, you go in. I mean, you can always notice the first time Francesinha trier.
Yes.
You know, they'll come in, they'll sit there. Oh, I've heard of that. I'll have that.
Yes.
And then this mammoth of a tray arrives.
Yes.
You know.
And they say, "Oh, your fries are just coming." What? Yeah. Well, that's a good shout. Bonaparte's then. I think that's in Porto. Question for you from Darren: when are your new snacks going to be available? So when can he pop into? Are they going to be in all of the branches or just Ponte Lima?
I'm working on that at the moment. It is going to be Ponte de Lima, but I'm sure we'll come up with some sort of way. Perhaps I'll go to the other bars and teach the kitchen staff. I'll just show the kitchen staff how I do it, like I did here.
Oh, how wonderful!
Maybe that might be the case.
Yeah, and people can think of you, can't they, when they're at their various Letra bars around the north of Portugal and they taste a jock make an egg in there. Wait, I saw him talking about this on the Good Morning Portugal show. Darren wants to go to the pub now after all this pub talk.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, veggie samosas, yes, as well. That's getting a thumbs up from Aviva. And Eurico, good morning to you. Great to see you. As bifanas do norte são diferentes das feitas no sul. Ambas muito boas. Abraços to you as well. Igualmente, Eurico. And the bifanas of the north are different to the ones in the south. That's got to be in the flavor. Well, maybe it's in the meat quality as well, but that's presumably.
I would definitely say in the meat quality there. I agree. I agree with you.
Meaning what, though? That the meat quality is better in the north?
No, I'm going to say the south.
Are you? Controversial?
The very first one I had up here in Ponte de Lima, I'm not going to mention the name of the cafe, but it was a cold piece of sliced ham, as in, you know, something that you get out of a packet.
No way.
Serious.
Right. Okay.
Absolutely. I knew what the sandwich was all about, and I ordered it at this particular place, and he came out with that, and I was like, okay.
No.
You're not doing the reputation of the bifana any good here.
I'm going to need some mustard on this bad boy. Yeah, okay. Do you want mustard on that? Definitely. I need to give it some flavor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here, Torush. You're making me hungry. Sorry, Bob. I can't be helped this morning. Always, when the Food Alchemist is on the screen, it's going to be making people hungry. How about cloakless person? What is that? Is that some sort of translation from?
Just go back to this Saint Martin.
Oh, the cloakless person instead of a beggar. Here we go. Gather round, children. It's time for politically correct story of the day.
It's getting that way anyway, isn't it?
Yes, as a Roman soldier. Can we say that anymore? A man of combat. No, that's not illegal. He didn't want to fight.
Oh, dear.
And he chanced upon a cloakless person. What? Thank you. It can also, it's not a name for a spicy beef Scotch egg, is it? The cloakless person. No. May I ask, another food question coming in. How many times do you guys buy the chestnuts per year? We did buy some to do at home. Is it this time of year, just once a year?
Once a year for me.
Spare a thought then for your chestnut seller. Hopefully they have a good season and they take the rest.
Absolutely.
However,
I'd probably see more on the floor up here in Ponte de Lima than I do stalls.
Oh, really? Oh, yes, of course you do, because of all the chestnuts. Yeah, so you can go harvest them and do them at home. But with all of these things, when there's a vendor involved and years of tradition and habit and practice, it's always going to be better. And they're not expensive, are they, to buy?
No.
It's not like being on Oxford Street. I do like seasonal food carts. Who doesn't? Nice one, Aaron. Good to see you here this morning, mate. The fresh one only in this season. There you go, as far as chestnuts go. Yeah, otherwise, I think they're probably imported from China if you're eating them at other times of the year. Unless it's going to be used in a recipe, then we'd buy frozen chestnuts. There you go.
You can find them all year long in all the supermarkets, chestnuts in the frozen section.
Okay. Do you think it's the end of Superbox fraudulent monopoly? Oh,
100%. I mean, when I was in Lisbon and Katia was giving me the tour, my eyes lit up because I saw the sign "Beer Museum." I thought, yes, let's go in. He said it's run by Superbox, and I went, no, we won't bother.
So it's going to be a PR thing, not necessarily a genuine history.
Yeah, it wasn't actually a museum; it was just the name.
Oh, okay, all right. They should get a letter in Gaia or Matosinhos. I imagine they're coming. This is a really exciting time to be in Portugal from a craft beer point of view. Portugal is not, will not, should not be a pub country. Uncle Frank's not happy. It has its own culture and distinctive identity. You want pubs? Go to England or Ireland. Nick, check him out this morning. He hasn't had his coffee, has he?
I can respond to that. You know, if you want pubs, go to England. So I'm going to say, Frank, if you want to see a football team, a real football team play, go to Manchester. And I'm not talking red. Sorry, Frank.
That is so unfair. You have command.
Right to reply.
Right. We've got beautiful rustic tashkas. Yeah, is it called O'Reilly's down there in Portimao? No, not that one. That are part of the culture. I'm assuming that's why you can. Oh, grumpy bum this morning, isn't he? I think.
No.
Yeah, a little bit grumpy.
I think it must have been the mention of the football match earlier. Sorry, Frank. I'm sorry.
He came in with the hello ladies. And
he did, didn't he? So yeah, he's got it back.
He's getting a bit of heat back. He's getting a bit of heat back this morning. Bon dia, great to meet you yesterday. It was lovely to see you, Jay, yesterday, and your crew. And it was quite a joy to see Letraria on the shelves in Braga. It is, isn't it great when you go and you see this?
It was Braga. That's where we saw it on the shelves. Thank you.
There you go. And look, we talk about craft beer and food. Darren turns up, and now Pete Wilton Davies, who I hope I'm going to see at the weekend here in the Silver Coast Beer Festival. It's a rainy Castanheira de Pera day. Talking of poems and rhymes, which we should do before we run out of time. A couple of years ago, I wrote a rhyme in Portuguese about a cultural event, and then translated that same rhyme into English, and it made it rhyme as well. Hard but fun. All the best things in life are hard but fun, Pete. Good to see you this morning. I'm always surprised to see cans of Northern Monk from my hometown in a craft beer bar. Northern Monk, what is that? Do you know that one?
It's a name of a beer, or either I would say, I'm going to go for a name of a beer. Yeah.
Okay.
That lecture did actually sell in the summer some beers from Manchester, which I was quite pleased with.
Very good. Ponte Lima, then have you tried the sarabulho? That's the chicken blood dish, isn't it? Have you tried it up there?
Love it.
Fantastic. Thanks for that mention of that, Aurico. And I had a Francisina that would easily feed four. And that's a big lad, isn't he? He's a big fella, and that's quite incredible.
You see, John even has our local pizza place just around the corner from here. Yeah. John has his own pizza, and it's called the Big Guy.
Is it really?
It's something that John made himself, and he decided to name it the Big Guy.
Big Guy, fantastic! That's so wonderful. How about that Francisina at some? That was the one. I had to take half of it home. They completely understood, and they're so happy to help us do so. And I noticed this in some of the food miles in Portugal. There are containers now. Help yourself. What you can't eat, you take. What a great idea! What a great
absolutely.
I wonder what Owen's recipe is. Oh, he's pushing back. So thanks for all the fish, says a Splunky as well. I think it's talk of cooking duck, which we better get on with, hadn't we? Quite soon. And we'll come back. Run, Pekin, run. Yes. We will issue a warning now. We're going to be talking about cooking Peking duck in just a moment, but not before we talk about your new selection of poetry that is now available on Amazon. Well done, Owen. And this is great to see this wonderful outburst of creativity on so many fronts, in the kitchen and on paper. Tell us about your new collection of poetry.
Well, I've been actually writing since I was I've been writing since I was 17. Literally just doodling things on pieces of paper. Waking up in the middle of the night and writing things out off the top of my head. Maybe just sat there at an event or wherever, and just people watching. And I call myself an observer of life. And I have over a number of years is wrote things down. I've written song lyrics before. the first thing I ever wrote when I was 17 was kind of based on a rap, when rap music was rap music.
You old fart. When rap music.
And then, you know, just recently, and you know, going back to the subject of the show today, I think it's since me moving north of Portugal and the wide open spaces, being close to nature, and being in Portugal and meeting some beautiful friends that has inspired me to write a lot more, you know, and with a bit of encouragement from one or two friends back in the UK and here, they said, why don't you get it published? So I just went ahead and had a look around, couldn't find anything published good enough. And somebody said to me, why don't you go to Amazon Kindle? You can do it all yourself, set it all up. So that's exactly what I did. It's just an ebook at the moment. As soon as I've come off today, I've got to find one of my photographs for a front cover for the paperback, which I'm trying to get out by the end of next week.
Fantastic. Okay, so is it going to be? I mean, people love your voice because that's another expression of your creativity.
Philomena Friday,
and we're looking forward to the remix of that next Friday, of course, when Philomena joins us with Genuino Madruga, the solo round the world sailor twice over, who lives in Azores. So looking forward to that remix. Are you going to be reading your poems as well and releasing them as an audiobook?
I think I should.
I think you should.
What I'd like is actually not just for me to read them, but to have, because I think you've got a brilliant voiceover voice. I think you should do a couple for me as well. So maybe we get a few people together and do them individually and record it that way. Maybe we could do that. Maybe we could do the audiobook in conjunction with GMP and get the Gumpers to do a poem each.
Sounds great, and some of which could be recorded at the T-Duck Studios in Lisbon.
Absolutely.
As well. That sounds great. What a lovely idea. Okay, so here it is. The link to it is in the chat there. This is My Thoughts Combined, the English edition on Kindle, as you say. And what am I seeing here? Can you get a sample of it free then? And then you
can on your device. Yeah, you can. I think it. Well, what I had was just a short piece from one of the poems that I wrote that's in there. I think if you have Kindle Unlimited, well, I think if I get Kindle Unlimited, I can surely get the whole book. I don't know how that works for everybody else because I'm not making money from that. But I'm sure that you get a small sample if you click the link that's there on the page.
Okay, and is that one of your photographs too?
That's the one, that was taken a beautiful sunset last weekend.
Yes, absolutely. Now I can't click too much on this because last time I did that, it revealed all of my credit card details when I was.
Oh, don't be doing that.
Look at some. It's like live stream on my credit card details on Amazon when I was having a look around. But there it is, and the link is in the chat now, and it begs the question: is being a migrant, is moving away from your original home, a boost to your creativity? Do you think that's the case?
Yeah, I mean, there's been mitigating circumstances for me. Having my creativity suppressed, as you know, that. But since, like I say, since moving north, feeling more at home in Portugal, has brought that out of me. And because there's I'd say about 5 or 6 poems that are in the book are things. Thank you, somebody card for the minute. You see, I'm looking at the comments here, and it's completely.
It's thrown you, isn't it? Can I stop it for a minute?
I'm getting really embarrassed here. Thank you for the minute. I've forgotten what I was saying.
About whether moving away and being a foreigner.
Yeah, I mean,
travel broadens the mind. Does it boost?
It really does. And I've come out of quite a long tunnel just recently, and my creative juices are flowing. I mean, if I can, I'd like to quote the first thing I ever wrote when I was 17.
Please do.
Which kind of inspires me, and I kind of use it as a mantra. So it goes like this. There is more I want to seek out, plus I want to find. I don't want to leave my mind without a shred of a doubt. I want to travel the world and see our globe, just to see the things that we've all been told that exists and is living today, and just how we're living it, okay? To make our mind up and not to be confused. We're all sick of seeing the world being misused and abused, because if we're going to survive, we're going to have to take care of those who keep you alive. If immaterial things keep you going, well, obviously it's not showing if you're lying in bed or you're going to work. You never know what might lurk around the corner. or another day that's going to change your life in a different way. So get off your butt and out of that rut and do something positive. Use your initiative, creative energies, flowing, growing, ready in time, and they'll be showing all the qualities that you have inside that all of a sudden just came alive. So if there's more you want to see, you have to make your dream a reality.
Yes.
So
get off your butts and get out there and grab it. So yeah, I think it's a big yes, isn't it? Thank you for that, Owen. It is a big yes, and it travel broadens the mind, boosts your creativity. Has there been anything particular about Portugal that has, a Portuguese flavor to your newfound creativity? I'm calling you a Renaissance man because you're cooking. I think that's Portuguese inspired. You've been writing poetry all your life, and certainly there's a whole Portuguese episode or chapter of that as well. You're a creative guy. You're doing the jingles for us as well. You can't help but express yourself. Is there what's particularly Portuguese about that, would you say?
Well, I do have a number of Portuguese inspired poems that I've wrote, but to be honest, I've done it a number of occasions. I've been just sat outside having a cigarette and just having a look around at the environment, and something will just jump into my head about where I am. Yeah. So obviously I put pen to paper, but when you speak to a number of people that arrive in the country and you ask them what brought you here, they will all, well, 9 times out of 10, they will always say to me, it has this. Portugal has this. But we spoke about it. You can't actually explain what this is, but it's had a profound effect on me moving here, regardless to what's going on in the UK or anywhere else in the world. Because there was no intention of moving to Portugal originally when I wanted to leave the UK, but Portugal has that. And I suppose I feel more at home here, no disrespect to the UK, but I do. And the environment, the people, everything, everything about Portugal says, yes, this is where you should be. Thank you, Ducky.
Yeah, look, and Geraldo Nort adding to that as well. Yeah, it's just true, isn't it? My Portugal resident piece that I just submitted yesterday is a love letter to Portugal. So for many of us, it is an unending source of inspiration. And I think it is quite good, isn't it, to give yourself a little bit of a slap around the head by moving country. I mean, it certainly does that, doesn't it, in all sorts of ways. And there are many upsides and positives about that, as well as, some of the things that take you by surprise as well. Now, I ended my love letter to Portugal with a poem. You're writing poetry. Pete Wilton Davies talked about writing a poem, which translated, it was difficult, but he translated well and he got it to rhyme in both Portuguese and English. And I found out yesterday that the Doc also had written a poem. I want to ask you, for those people who feel like they've got poetry in them or creative writing, how do you get started? Because I think we all do, don't we?
How
do you get started? How do you let that come out?
Well, I don't know, because I've been the same. I've been writing songs as well. My best friend of 30 plus years that I was in a band with as well. I used to write a lot of songs. So I think it's come from that as well. And I get inspired by just the slightest thing. A cat walking on a wall, whatever. Yeah. It just flows. I was explaining to my friend in the US, Anne-Marie, the other day, because she was asking, where does it come from? And I said, I can't explain it. It just happens. And I just have the urge to write it down. Yeah. Sometimes I'll write 3 or 4 lines down. And like I noticed the other day, leave them for a good 10 years before I go back to them. But it's always there. There's always that flow that's there. Once I have a subject or once I hear something, it's stuck. And I can't get rid of it until I've written it down and work on it.
Good. Okay. So for you, it's not like you get creative block. You get blocked if you're not creative.
Yeah.
It's the other way around. Yeah. Excellent. That's a great condition to be. Now, here's the docs. He's published. This was a response to the COVID inquiry. Would you believe? Isn't it incredible where inspiration can come from?
Now you see, I'm on the same website as well. I'm on Old Poetry as well.
What is Old Poetry? So you can submit.
It's where you can go on and just submit your poems, and they produce them. They put them on free, and you get comments from other poets as well. So I've got work on there as well. I've got one on there at the moment. And because obviously I'm doing the book, I'm not prepared to put any more on.
Yeah. fair enough. The inquiry's depiction of culpable dereliction of a rapid descent by a government into threats of death and 4-letter words from now inconsequential, forgive me, mother, turds, of greed trumping need, inaction, proaction, despair, care. The people's experience of the response to COVID has many of us despairing, hurt, livid. This betrayal demands a solution. And as you might expect from the doc, when will we take that step? And in capital letters, revolution.
Revolution.
That's the docs there. So, I mean, the encouragement is there for everyone, isn't it? I'm putting the link to
absolutely
poetry there. A lot of people feeling that way about the COVID inquiry. I think those and others around the world for various reasons about how people feel let down by their governments. That might be a source of inspiration, but there are many, including a cat walking along a wall, as you said, Owen. So just how about that? You know, take Owen's words of getting off your butt and sticking pen to paper. And of course, it's really great, the comments that have come from your reading there, or not reading, but your recital. I love that 17-year-old poem, Owen, and wonderful, says Gerald Denault. Love the image of your 17-year-old self writing that and still inspiring your current self. It's like a note to yourself, isn't it?
It is. I use it as a mantra. I really do.
Yep. And it fits with Genuino's Madruga as well, who got off his butt, sailed around the world twice as well. So we're looking forward to chatting with you, Philomena, next Friday, and Senora Madruga. Poetry for me is a stream of consciousness, usually inspired by emotion or angst, joy, despair. So James, a poetry writer as well, look, so not much poetry. I'm quite content. Yes, fair enough. You can tell what mood he's in if he's in there scratching away on his jotter pad with an outpouring of a flow of consciousness there. Let's get to the food, because we've only got 12 minutes left.
Are you going to show the video, Carl?
Shall I run the VT first? Is that the thing to do?
It'll give me a chance to nip to the loo.
Yes, okay. Off you go, Owen, and we'll see you after this.
I'm just coating the duck with the glaze, making sure that every little bit is covered. Okay, doing the other side. And after this is done, it then gets put in the fridge for, as I say, up to 12 or even 24 hours. I'm wanting for the skin to dry out and for that glaze to remain. So we have the glaze on the duck, and I'm going to pop that in the fridge for 12 hours minimum.
Oh, and that is a really fat duck, if you don't mind me saying.
And not bad at €7.10 as well.
That isn't bad, is it? I mean, that is a huge bird, and the duck is known, is it not, for sometimes being a little bit on the lean side.
That's it.
It's not great to meat on a duck, is there?
It is a big bird, that one. That's why we had a look. In fact, myself, John and Pam, we've been looking out for duck in the supermarkets, and I'm always doing it, in particular in Pingados. I love the produce. I love the wine section that they have there, but I wait for the old reduced stickers to come on, because
me too.
They tend to overstock, so they end up reducing things way before the sell-by date. So that's when I'm like the proverbial hawk, and I swoop in.
Hunter-gathering, mate. It's hunter-gathering. It's an instinct, isn't it? Yesterday in Caldash, I fancied making either a cottage or shepherd's pie. Went into Pingados there, and there were Angus burgers. And these are the Angus burgers that Pingados
they are really good,
because they don't have antibiotics in them. They're Angus beef for starters. And they are as good as a beef as can be reared, I think, with the animal husbandry side of things. And I thought, okay, well, instead of buying mince, I'll just break up these bad boys and put them in a in a shepherd's pie or cottage pie, of course.
Best way to do it. Absolutely.
With the lamb, isn't it? So it's some really lovely chunks of beef in there, and that was a really heart-warming, soul foody kind of vibe there. Some comfort food in the autumn. Right, back to your duck dish here, the Peking duck. You didn't nothing wasted, right? I think that's the neck there, and you decided to make
it's the neck, the liver, and the heart.
Right.
So,
okay.
as you know, waste not, want not. I decided to make a pate from it with some white port.
And is that the white port being poured in there?
That's the white port that's going in there at the moment. Yeah.
So some painstaking work. Did you have to strip all the meat off the neck? Is that how you do it? Or
off the neck, I did, yes, and then it was put into the food processor afterwards.
Right. Okay. And there it is a little bit more. Are those some mushrooms in there as well?
Mushrooms as well. Yeah.
Right, okay. And we've got some. Is this how you're doing? Is it a Portuguese twist on it that you're doing?
Yeah, with the white port. Yes, absolutely. And that's the finished version after it's been into the food processor. So on some lovely rustic bread.
Rustic bread, cornbread, possibly.
You can have it on cornbread. It was great. Pam and I had it with just some cream crackers, and it was lovely.
Very nice. Okay, so duck and white port pate. And this is for the Peking duck itself, is it? Is this the hoisin?
Yeah, that's actually the because I used a honey and soy and a Chinese spice blend to glaze the duck. That is the remainder of the glaze that I had left, and the cranberries is left over from our
of course,
our Thanksgiving Day celebration. So once again, waste not, want not, and combining that with some onions and maybe some more herbs, and making a cranberry sauce to go with the duck.
So is that duck still in the fridge? Is the glaze still chilling?
It's in the fridge. It's going to be in the oven today. And I will probably, once that's complete, I mean, as the photographs you have there, once it is complete, I'm doing a few more videos today that will go onto my YouTube page of Owen's Food Alchemy, and it'll also go on my Facebook page of the same name as well. So
fantastic. Send us a picky if you will, so we can show people the article tomorrow. That's superb. Okay, let's go to a few more of your comments then. Thank you very much on this morning of creativity. It does look, doesn't it, as though, you know, moving country is helping people with their creativity. And we would encourage people, I think, Owen, would we not, if they feel like they have been not paying attention to that side of themselves, you know, because people have been busy, haven't they? They're newly retired and they might have different priorities now, is to give vent to that creative expression. Why not?
Absolutely. I forgot to ask, actually, the cover photo that I'm actually looking for, I need your permission, Carl, because you actually took the photograph. Do you remember up on the hill?
You got it. Absolutely. Yeah, that's a real book jacket photo, isn't it? The author. Yeah, of course you can. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Absolutely right. I'm not precious about things like that. Yeah, just send the fee to the usual place and a lovely big credit on the under your name, photographed by, if you don't mind. No, absolutely.
From Carl Munson at GMP, you can find him on YouTube.
That's right, yes. I'll put a link, if you're a live link as well.
Yeah,
if you don't mind.
yeah.
Thank you very much. I'll send the NDA over later on today. Talking of beer, we are coming to Caldas tomorrow for the Silver Coast Beer Festival. Nice one, Pete. For both Friday and Saturday, going to be fun. And what else is there to do in this weather? Absolutely. I've heard it's going to clear up for the weekend. Hopefully there'll be a bit of San Martino vibes for the weekend. And it's called Variation. What's that mean? Oh, well, like not. I think James is feeling the heat, possibly for what Frank said there, and Darren maybe wanting a bit of variety in being able to go into a British pub, despite Frank's stern response. I found a worm in my bifana the other day. Don't worry, it's only a dad joke. And called over the waiter. Connie Sensor, senor. He said, "That's not a worm, it's fat." I said, "Of course it is. It's eating all of me." Straight off the music hall stage, isn't it? From the 1950s. Cheeky chappy joke there from Garbo. And Manuel Ferreira is here. Infelizmente, as tradicionais tascas portuguesas estão em extinção. Now, I hope that's not true, but I don't doubt the comment there of our friend Manuel Ferreira. The traditional Portuguese tasca is going extinct. Now, I don't think that's because of the rise of pubs necessarily, is it? It's not like, you know, we would, if I may say so now on behalf of the Gumpers, nobody wants to see the extinction of the traditional.
No, absolutely not.
We absolutely love that, and we are not suggesting pubs as a replacement. Merely, I think, as Darren is saying, there's a little bit of variety sometimes. But long live the Portuguese Tasca.
Absolutely. I think what I see with that, Carl, if we look at, as we know here in Portugal, is that a lot of the younger end moved out of the country for better work and better jobs, better pay.
Yeah.
So therefore, we've had a whole generation that have used the Tascas for all this time, and you're getting less and less of the younger end going in.
Yeah.
Those that are coming back have obviously sampled other beers done differently. So when you do find places like Letra opening, it's going to be of interest because they've seen it in the particular country that they've been at. That's the way I would explain it. I hope that's okay with you, Monroe.
Absolutely, I agree. And isn't this a great opportunity for the foreigners to keep the flame alive? Now, I understand how progress works in a culture. You know, sometimes people are embarrassed about the past of their country and things that are old-fashioned. We come over here and we absolutely love it. So tell us what we can do, Manuel. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, let's write a guide to those Tascas. Let's publish a guide. Let's get people going to them. One of the problems, of course, with your Portuguese Tasca is only the local people know where they are. And we need a little bit of help and initiation to find them. And if you tell us where they are, we'll go and support them. And
we'll get a guide together. Let's do it.
Absolutely right. You know, this is what we were talking about the other night with our Portugal immigrant network. You know, how can we help? What can we do as immigrants to honor the culture and be good foreigners? That would be one really great win-win, wouldn't it? Is to be honoring the tradition and supporting it.
Tell us, Gumpers, where's your local?
A guide to local Tascas. We'd be delighted to write that and do the research. I know I would.
Yeah.
Bom dia. Thank you for that, Manuel. Bom dia, querido Owen. Parabéns pelo teu livro. So congratulations on the book there. João Denort, last few comments then. And dad jokes. We're not escaping those, Owen. I've enjoyed getting reacquainted with chestnuts here in Portugal. In the US, the chestnut almost went extinct in the mid-20th century due to a terrible fungus blight. Didn't know that.
I didn't know until John told me. João told me.
And of course, look, it's the season. Lovely idea of chestnuts roasting on an open fire became only a nostalgic memory. Watch out, Frank's back. Owen, your cuteness will not fill up that trophy cabinet. What's the City branded toilet paper?
I have never known Manchester United fans be so bitter in the last 10 years. 10 years of upsetness.
Oh, look, it's more the word needs and the implied flaw of not having it that rubs me the wrong way. Oh, is this okay? I would love to find authentic Mexican food. So it's about the phrasing, isn't it? I think not making a culture wrong while suggesting a nice compliment to it, perhaps. I would love to find authentic Mexican food more readily available, but don't hold the position that Portugal needs them. Well said. Mostly semantics and its implications. With me giving away my credit card details on Amazon, I'm getting lots of free stuff. Thanks, lad. You're welcome. I still like traditional Portuguese drinks like Berão and of course, absolutely. Yes. We're not suggesting
I'm not against any Portuguese food. It's for me. Letra is just like home. I was drinking all the traditional ale back in the UK, and that floated my boat, and I found it here in Portugal. I'm happy with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I respect wherever I go because I love it. I love it here. I love the whole country. I love the whole experience.
Yeah, and that's the thing, isn't it? So often the debate, the conversation is either or. We're not saying it either or. We're saying more. We're saying and this and this.
Yeah,
what if?
Absolutely.
What if this? What if that? Not by no. If we've conveyed that impression at all that we're trying to replace anything, absolutely not. Rewind that and erase it from the record. This morning. Talking of 17-year-old poetry, Gary, when he was 17, was limited to writing
on the villa everywhere. I love it, Garo.
I can imagine him. He was a 17-year-old daubing that on a wall somewhere. Vitor corrected me yesterday that dos is best pronounced as duas. Is that right? Pinga duas, or something close to that. Okay. People pronounce pingo doce in all sorts of ways, don't they? A pingo dolce is one of them. But I'm going to go with pingo doce and pingo doce. And you've got to love a big bird, haven't you?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, I think is that poetry, like a haiku? You've got to love a big bird. I think it's a bit missing. It's a bit missing, perhaps, there. Okay, those dad jokes to finish in 1 minute past 10. I haven't got Mrs. M breathing down my neck. We've got another Barefoot broadcast tomorrow morning. Join us for that. We had a fantastic conversation yesterday, and we will continue that tomorrow. The Comic Sans sandstorm is approaching. Forecasts say it's a weather font. That's very good. That's very good. Come on, it is. Comic Sans is coming along with Christmas, and we'll be lighting up Christmas from tomorrow. I think we'll start with João de Nort's lovely Christmas pictures from Vigo. I'm so jealous of my parents, says T-Duck. I'll never have a kid as cool as theirs. I have a joke about IKEA furniture, but I'm still trying to put it together. Thank you very much, T-Duck, for those. Owen, thank you so much. Such
You're
a
welcome,
rich
Cal.
theme of conversation, the cookery, the poetry. And thank you for this sort of thing.
Philomena Friday.
And we're looking forward to the remix jingle next Friday when Philomena joins us alongside Senor Genuino Madruga. Owen, what are you up to then creatively this weekend?
Do you know, well, funny enough, in about an hour's time, we're off to IKEA. It's true, you know.
Right.
And obviously, I'll be doing the Peking duck today.
Oh, good on you.
This weekend. I don't know. Maybe some more skullduggery in the kitchen.
Very good. So good to talk to you this morning. Last couple of comments then. But the whole idea of Letraria is locally grown hops and flavors and creative combinations. Yeah, absolutely. And the joke in our household, talking of Pingados, when I first heard Pingados, I said, what? Oingo Poingo. So now we call it Oingo Poingo. Well, there you go. And yes, you're going to very traditional Portuguese IKEA. Are you going to be having the meatballs? Got to be done, isn't it?
Potentially. I think so. But the food is really good. I do like the food in there.
And there is a Portuguese twist, isn't there? With it.
There is. I don't know. It's all dark.
And yes. The plants have been lit up. The gardener's been in, you know. All right, Owen, take care. Love to the north of Portugal and all our friends up there. Big round of applause to you. Keep up the good work. Keep that creativity pouring out and sharing it with us. And good luck with the new poetry book. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye for now, folks. We'll see you tomorrow with Bobby O'Reilly and the savvy cat, Anna. Where's my outro jingle? Here it is.
Bom dia, Portugal! In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, Gumpers.